Hi, this is College of Circles, and I'm Jeff. If you've played Dungeons & Dragons for more than 3 sessions, you know there are 2 things we players love to do. Play the game, and talk about ways to fix the game. In fact, in the entire history of D&D, I bet there has never been a single game that did not have some element of homebrew in it. You can even play the game without knowing most, if not any, of the rules. This is a key feature of the game, not a bug. One area of the game that gets homebrewed heavily is spells. The designers of D&D did an overall great job of creating a spell system, but despite their best efforts, we as players and DMs have found many issues over the years. Some are too powerful, some are irrelevant and are never taken, and in many cases, there are just too many spells with so much crossover between spell lists that classes start to feel like reskins of each other. My goals in revising these spells is to balance out the power level of spells so that there are genuine hard choices to make when selecting spells. My second goal is to ensure that classes have unique personalities to them. I want my druids to feel different than my wizards. They should have different tool sets. While there can and should be some overlap, each class needs to be distinctive, have a signature MO to them, starting with cantrips. Before I get started, I would ask that you subscribe to my channel. I love talking about D&D and want all the players out there to be involved in the discussion. Also, if you like this video, please give it a like and help boost that all-important algorithm. With that intro out of the way, here are my 10-ish revised Dungeons & Dragons cantrips.
1.
We start with a cantrip that just doesn't do enough to justify using a precious cantrip slot on it. Blade Ward costs 1 action, lasts 1 round, and has a range of self, giving the target, the caster, resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing attacks by weapons until the end of the caster's next turn. This could be a good pickup for squishy casters. However, the cost of 1 action is too high when, in most situations, a disengage action and movement can also get the caster out of harm's way, or taking the dodge action can ensure the caster avoids all damage. There may be certain times where Blade Ward is just what you need, but those situations are too infrequent to justify using 1 of 2, 3, or maybe 4 cantrip slots to use it. My fix is simple. Make Blade Ward a reaction. This simple fix really boosts the viability to Blade Ward without breaking the game, and still has an opportunity cost of not being able to use reactions on other things like Counterspell or Silvery Barbs.
2.
There are only 6 cantrips in the game that require concentration. Create Bonfire, Dancing Lights, Friends, Guardians, Resistance, and True Strike. Why? Is there really a concern of derailing a DM's plans if you can cast Dancing Lights and Polymorph at the same time? Cantrips are by their very nature weak spells that shouldn't require safeguards to keep them from being abused. Plus, I think most players and DMs would be surprised to learn that they require concentration anyways. I can tell you I almost always have to remind players that it does. So here's the fix. No more concentration on cantrips. Period. Ever. And True Strike, we're not done with you, you naughty, naughty spell.
3.
The next cantrip I would like to revise is Control Flames. And the fix is again pretty simple. Remove it from the Druid spell list. While we're at it, remove these spells from the Druid spell list as well. Gust, Mold Earth, and Shape Water. After all, Druids turn into animals, right? So why do they need to control elements? Wait. You say Druids are also attuned to the elemental forces of nature, and they're known for their mastery over the elements? Okay, then why do they have to choose between these 4 cantrips, each of which on their own are pretty weak? So let's go ahead and take them off that Druid list, and we're going to move on to
4.
Create a new cantrip just for Druids, Control Elements. All the best aspects of each of these spells in one hard to say no but not game-breaking cantrip. You can find this spell in the homebrew section of D&D Beyond, a link below in the video description.
5.
While we're talking about druids, let's discuss Druidcraft. This cantrip is about as useless as tap shoes on a werebore. This is the 5th cousin to Thaumaturgy and Prestidigitation. It could be used, but for why? Here's my fix. We're going to add one line. You throw seeds out over a 5-foot cube. As they reach the ground, they take root and sprout up to 1 inch. If the new plants are not cared for, they will wither and die in 1 week. What makes this added ability to useful is in conjunction with the Druid's 3rd level spell, Plant Growth. Plant growth can make large swaths of land difficult terrain, but is held back in many areas because it can only affect existing plants, which are often hard to come by in areas like cities, dungeons, mines, etc. With this revision, Druidcraft goes from the bench to a strong contender for winning Class Clown with all of the possible shenanigans it has.
6,
The most powerful cantrip in the game, the defining feature of many builds, and the defining cantrip of Warlocks. Eldritch Blast is so good that many players will consider taking the feat Magic Initiate just to get this, or take a 2-level dip in Warlock to get Agonizing Blast. As it scales with character level, a 2-level dip is all you need to get the most out of this cantrip. Now here's what I would change, and I do not claim to be the first or even 1,000th person to think of this. Make it a class feature for Warlocks, and have it scale with Warlock level rather than character level. This should be the thing that sets Warlocks apart from other classes, and you can't get its full power just do-si-doing around with a patron. No, son, you gotta go all in and be that patron's BFF.
7,
I just took a cantrip and made it a class feature, and now I'm taking another cantrip and making it go away. Or at least making it rent space in another cantrip's house. In the 3 years I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons, I have played in or GM'd hundreds of sessions and have never seen anyone, not even once, take encode thoughts. Never heard anyone even mention it. Hell, I didn't even know it was a thing until I was reviewing all cantrips for this video. With this cantrip, you can take a thought, memory, or idea straight from your brain and transform it into a glowing memory strand, which only lasts 8 hours, and then do what with it? I don't know. This is the most shoehorn-ready cantrip I've ever heard of, and that this is the kind of spell a new player takes because they think it looks interesting. Then they keep looking for ways to shoehorn it into the game until the GM acquiesces and makes a special encounter for them, or they give up and take a different cantrip. My solution? Add it as another option to the existing cantrip message. Message, paragraph 3. Or, putting a finger to your head, you pull a memory, an idea, or a message from your mind, blah, blah, blah. This effect lasts 8 hours.
8,
There are several cantrips that have a combination of a small amount of damage and a rider effect. Frostbite, Infestation, Mind Sliver, and Vicious Mockery are similar in structure but differ in outcomes and relative worth. The amount of damage from these cantrips is negligible, and the rider effects, while useful, are typically not worthy of a full action to achieve them, especially since they rely on opponents failing saving throws, which is always less reliable than attack rolls. To fix these spells and make them more compelling to take, I would increase the damage of Vicious Mockery from 1d4 to 1d6. Further, for all 4 of these spells, I would make the rider effect automatic. For example, Frostbite would say, you cause numbing frost to form on one creature that you can see within range, which has disadvantage on the next weapon attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn. In addition, the target must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 1d6 cold damage. We want to encourage casters to do more battlefield control and support the marshals, but there are few things worse than waiting 10 minutes for your turn only to spend 10 seconds on a save or suck cantrip before the next player goes, and have nothing to show for it.
9,
For the penultimate cantrip on this list, I propose removing some cantrips from class spell lists I don't believe they belong in. Toll the Dead screams Warlock or Cleric to me and should belong to them exclusively. Remove it from the wizard spell list completely. Oh, poor wizards, what shall they ever do? Give them exclusive access to Mage Hand. Mage Hand feels wizardly to me, and I want these classes to be distinct. Arcane Trickster Rogues should get it too, as well as Artificers.
10,
Okay, True Strike, we've waited long enough for you. Now it's your time to shine. True Strike is widely regarded as the worst spell in the game. It's also the poster child for a trap spell, in that it is often worse to cast this spell than to just do something else. True Strike requires a full action, concentration, and gives you advantage on your next attack roll, which is most likely a whole turn away. There are so many issues here, starting with if you are making weapon or spell attacks, you're almost always better off just doing the same attack each turn and having a chance to hit or crit twice than foregoing a turn to get one instance of advantage. The most often suggested fix for this spell is to turn it into a bonus action, which is good, but I don't think it does enough to polish this turd. It also doesn't address the second issue. Now, True Strike is only available to bards, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards, 4 classes that generally aren't trying to hit with a weapon attack. In fact, the only real use for this cantrip is to give the caster advantage on an important spell attack, which is otherwise very difficult to attain. True Strike is one of the few ways to get advantage on a spell attack, but again, it's just not worth the cost of an action and a cantrip slot to keep this spell available. So here's my fix. Truer Strike. First level spell. Casting time, 1 reaction, range 30 feet, when you see someone making an attack roll. You can cast the spell after seeing the roll, but before it is determined if it is a hit or not. You point your finger at a target in range, giving the target insight into their opponent's defenses. The target gains a +2 to their attack roll. Upcasting. The bonus to hit increases by 2 per level above first used to cast the spell. This should take True Strike from one of the worst spells in the game to one that has value at all levels and can even help bridge the caster-martial divide by giving casters additional value in supporting Martial's attacks. Imagine fighting a creature with immunity to spells under a certain level. Suddenly, most of your wizard spell slots are useless, unless you can use them to give your paladin a +8 or +10 to their attacks. Truer Strike is also available on D&D Beyond in the Homebrew section, link in the description below. Well, how did I do? Are there any cantrips here you would use in your games, or what changes would you propose to cantrips? Leave your comments below. As always, I'm Jeff. This is College of Circles. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.